coming back to my co-benefits discourse. What are the co-benefits of all of that urban agriculture? Yeah, it's producing a lot of food and employing a lot of people, and it's healthy food. Well, by just its very presence, it is limiting urban expansion and the car domination of the whole landscape. It is, because the food, it's feeding so many local people, meaning we don't have to import food into that region. It's cutting down on greenhouse gases from food transport. It is really aiding in the preservation of agricultural lands and traditions which go back since settlement. The first governor of New South Wales in the late 1700s, this is where he set up gardens. It's operating as an educative resource for the next generation. It's like a living museum for kids about how food is grown. And it's generating an engaged citizenry, people who are really fighting urban developers, thorn in the side of the New South Wales government. So, urban ag has got these co-benefits. Racing through civic agriculture. For me, civic agriculture is what's happening in backyards everywhere. It is backyard food production is that horrid word, iconic part of the suburban Australian landscape. The quarter-acre block, the apricot trees, the lemon tree, and the chook shed, which is what I wrote about a lot in The Changing Chicken. Absolutely central to ways of life, to kids growing up, feeding the chooks, having to pluck all the apricots off before the birds got there. But now we're joined by, because of our migrant settlers, community plots and a willingness to work the ground together, but for non-commercial purposes. And then there is rented allotment gardening of the type in the UK that I spoke about. Again, really important in terms of feeding people healthily and cheaply. You are putting water on, you are putting fertiliser on, you are putting chook poo on. There are input costs, but in terms of when food gets too expensive or it's not available because of changed climatic conditions, you are there. I'm just going to say a little bit more about food system co-benefits and link it to the physicality, and then I'm going to wind up and turn over to you. Civic agriculture in particular is a great contributor to closing that gap in nutritional inequity. If you can grow your own food, you can eat like a king. You can eat as much and as well as the richest person. So it's really important from that angle. For urban agriculture, where there is the commercial aspect, it produces tens of thousands of livelihoods for small producers. Philip McMichael on the weekend put up a figure that said 60% of the world's food comes from small family producers around the world, 60%. We think about the transnational corporations, they often buy the food, but where it's produced is still 60% small producers. The combined effect of civic and urban agriculture is to help to revitalise wild food communities. I know this is an extremely important issue in New Zealand. It is in my work in Thailand too, where older women said that the importance of the disappearance of wild foods for their diets, and now they're captive to the marketplace. I think there are physicality co-benefits of urban and civic agriculture. Diminished fear of strangers. When you're out on the street, out in the plot with people, there is a lot of, where there are people, fear goes down. This lovely notion about a convivial society. Susan Parham many years ago wrote a book about conviviality by design. How can we build in a desire to be with one another in cafes, in the community plot, etc. The physicality co-benefits of urban and civic agriculture is definitely to put the brakes on environmental degradation. We still don't know, though, the exact sums about water efficiency and energy efficiency, but we do know that backyard and small-scale agriculture is less damaging to the environment. And if you can get food from the neighbourhood, you're likely to walk more and cycle more. And the more people who are walking and cycling, the epidemiologists tell us there are fewer accident-related injuries. Now, corporations will say, hey, hold on, if people start to grow food in their backyard or in the community allotment, you're actually denying rural communities livelihoods. And there is no doubt that that in the short term could be an issue. But I'm not arguing for civic and urban agriculture to displace rural agriculture, but to coexist.